Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you're navigating the world today, it feels like you're just constantly hit with messages about novelty, excitement, speed.
Oh, absolutely. Everything's got to be fast, flashy.
Right. We're almost like wired now to chase that immediate dopamine hit. We want growth to be instant, vertical. Everything tells us constant motion, that flashiness, that's the key to, well, success and profit.
And that expectation, that chase, that's exactly what our source material today really pushes back against.
Yeah.
We're diving into research around a pretty counterintuitive idea that all that excitement is actually kind of a trap. And boredom. Boredom isn't the enemy here.
Okay. The art of profitable boredom. That's what the sources are calling it, right?
That's the one.
And the core idea, it just flies right in the face of, well, everything. Every viral Instagram reel, every get-rich-quick promise, the next big thing.
Yeah, all of that. So our mission today really is to unpack why this seemingly backwards idea actually holds true. It's about confronting that stuff you mentioned.
The hustle culture noise.
Exactly. The endless stream of it, the shiny side hustles promising the moon, the constant search for shortcuts. The material basically shows that chasing constant novelty, constant input, it's fundamentally a financial trap. And a personal one, too. It just keeps most people spinning their wheels.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's unpack that. So if chasing novelty is like actively bad for your bottom line, if looking for the next shiny thing keeps people from actually growing wealth, then what should we be focusing on? What's the key trait the research found?
Well, what's really fascinating is how simple the answer turns out to be and how universal. The research looked at, really wealthy people across different fields, and they found this one overwhelming defining trait they shared. They got really, really good at doing boring things consistently.
Okay, hold on. That's it. Really good at doing boring things consistently.
That's it.
Wow. That really strips away all the mystique, doesn't it? It's not some secret trading algorithm or fancy software.
Nope.
It's just mastering the mundane. Okay, but what are these boring things? Can we get specific? What are these repetitive, unsexy tasks they actually mastered?
Yeah, and the examples are great because they're so, well, achievable.
Yeah.
But also psychologically really tough to stick with. We're talking about things like saving automatically.
Okay.
Takes zero creativity, right? Zero market genius. You just set up a transfer and, crucially, you forget about it. It's boring by design.
And that automatic saving, it fights that dopamine chase, right? The impulse spending. If the money's already gone before you get excited about buying something new, the boring routine wins.
Precisely. Or another example, writing every day, even when you don't feel inspired, even if nobody's reading it yet. You're just showing up for the process itself, not waiting for the excitement of, like, a viral hit.
Right. Or in business.
Making tiny repetitive improvements, just tweaking a workflow, adjusting a product slightly, instead of always launching some massive new thing.
Okay, I see the challenge, though. Like, if I'm writing every day and 6 months go by, zero traffic, the urge to just quit and start something new and exciting, maybe like a TikTok channel, that pull is huge. That's the dopamine calling.
That's exactly where the discipline kicks in. Most successful people, they learn to ignore that impulse. They understand that just showing up, doing the dull routine, that's the job. Like the research says, boredom isn't some obstacle you just have to suffer through. It is the competitive edge. Because most people, the ones still chasing the next big strategy, they just won't maintain that kind of simply foundational consistency.
But okay, let me push back a bit. Doesn't that sound exhausting? Constantly forcing yourself into this, like, structured dullness. If the end goal is freedom, isn't there a mental cost?
It feels exhausting, sure, in the short term. But that's only because our brains are kind of trained for novelty now. The whole point of profitable boredom is to make the process automatic, to remove the willpower needed. Once that boring task becomes a ritual, like brushing your teeth, you don't spend any cognitive energy deciding whether to do it. You just do it. So you're trading that short-term mental fatigue for long-term ease and, crucially, financial predictability.
That makes sense. And it brings us nicely to the math behind the dullness. It's one thing to talk about consistency, but where does that boring habit actually translate into, massive exponential profit?
Right. This is where we connect that idea of repetition to something really concrete. Compounding interest.
The classic example.
Exactly. It's the mathematical proof for consistent boredom. I love how the sources put it. Compounding is literally the reward for boredom.
Huh. I've never heard it put quite like that. But it captures the feeling perfectly, doesn't it? Compounding is famously agonizingly boring at the start.
Oh, totally. If you're saving, say, $500 a month and you see a couple of dollars in interest, nothing dramatic is happening day to day. It's completely unexciting, feels totally linear.
Yeah, you check your balance and think, is this even working?
Right. But the critical thing the sources stress is that the growth curve isn't linear. It just looks that way at first. If you stick with that boring routine month after month, year after year, the curve doesn't just rise gently, it suddenly, explodes upward.
Because you hit that geometric growth phase.
You got it.
So the reason most people quit is they're looking for that explosion way too early, during that flat, disappointing, boring part.
Exactly. They're doing everything right financially, but they get emotionally bored, so they jump ship, chase the next thing before the compounding mechanism really gets going.
They mistake stability for stagnation.
Perfect way to put it. They start looking for the investment that promises 50% overnight instead of the one that just gives you 7% reliably for 20 years.
Yeah.
You need the patience for the boring mechanics to do their work.
And this isn't just about money, right? The sources say this applies just as much to building a business or learning a skill. That dedication to the dull stuff builds empires.
Absolutely. Think about scaling a business. It's things like practicing the same core sales pitch until it's absolutely seamless, doing it 100 times, 500 times. Or the incredibly dull work of running the same ad test every day, just patiently tweaking one tiny variable over weeks.
Right.
Or the routine of reaching out to the same type of prospect every single morning, whether yesterday was good or bad. It's tedious stuff, but it creates repeatable results.
I can totally see quitting that daily outreach on, day 30, 0 big wins yet. Especially when you see some competitor posting a screenshot of some massive, seemingly effortless success.
But that effortlessness, it's usually a mirage. The so what here, the key takeaway, is that this dull, predictable routine, that's what creates predictable, almost automatic income. You replace the wild ups and downs of chasing spikes and novelty with machine-like reliability. You've basically monetized your discipline.
Okay, so we've got the why. The math backs up the boredom. But for someone like me, maybe like a lot of listeners, whose brain is just wired for novelty and distraction, how is the real mountain to climb? How do we actually build the infrastructure to go from being a dopamine hunter to a boredom master?
Yeah, that's the practical part.
Yeah.
And the research lays out a pretty clear 3-step plan. This is how you actually weaponize the dullness.
All right, let's hear it. Step 1.
Step 1 is commitment without judgment. This one's big. It requires a real psychological shift. You have to pick one thing, one revenue stream, one foundational habit.
Yeah.
Just one. And then this is crucial, stick with it for at least 90 days.
90 days, that's specific. Why is it so important not to judge the results during that time? What happens if I check on day 45 and, nothing's happened?
Well, that 90 days, it's designed to get you past what you might call the trough of disillusionment. Most people quit new things right when that initial buzz wears off, right? Usually around day 30, maybe day 60. By committing to 90 days without judging, you're essentially forcing your brain to start automating the action. You're acknowledging that results, just like compounding, take time. You just show up, do the boring task, no matter how you feel about the results that day.
Got it. So you're training yourself to value sticking to it over getting immediate feedback.
Exactly right. Then comes step 2, scheduling the unsexy.
Okay.
The sources recommend scheduling really specific, boring power hours. This is deliberate time, non-negotiable time, carved out just for doing those foundational tasks that have zero glamour. Cleaning up your database, analyzing metrics, practicing something silently.
This sounds like where that competitive edge really comes from. While everyone else is distracted, you're deliberately doing the unsexy infrastructure work, the stuff nobody posts about on social media, while everyone else is, as the source says, just scrolling.
That time arbitrage is huge. While they're chasing the quick dopamine fix, you're building something solid, something resilient. You're actively choosing routine over entertainment in that moment.
Okay, that makes sense. Which leads right into step 3. Shifting focus to the process. Now this one. If I work on something for 2 years, finally land a huge client after all that outreach, I feel like I should celebrate that win. But the material seems to say don't celebrate the spikes.
It's not that you can't celebrate, but it's about where you place your focus, what you track as your main metric. You shouldn't prioritize celebrating the massive one-off sale or the unexpected viral post, the spikes.
Why not? Feels good.
Because you prioritize the spike, you're right back in that dopamine trap. You start chasing the next spike instead of trusting the system. Instead, the advice is Celebrate the process itself. Did you make your automatic savings deposit this month? Check. Did you hit your daily outreach number? Check. Did you write your 500 words today? Check. That successful adherence to the dull, reliable routine, that's the real metric. That's what dictates long-term success, not the random short-term wins.
Okay, I see how it all connects now. You implement these 3 steps: commitment without judgment, scheduling the unsexy, focusing on the process, and the result is you start building that automatic, predictable income through the routine itself. It becomes like a flywheel.
It absolutely is. You show up for the boring task. The boring task yields tiny marginal results at first, but the fact that you did the boring task reinforces the habit and that continued disciplined routine. That eventually generates the explosive compounded growth you were looking for all along. You've successfully monetized your discipline, not just relying on luck or bursts of inspiration.
So let's bring this home for everyone listening. What's the central message here? Synthesizing all this.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like the wealth, the skill, the growth you're looking for, it's probably not hiding in the next new shiny thing that launches tomorrow.
Probably not.
It's actually hiding in that simple, maybe boring routine that you've been ignoring, or starting and stopping because it didn't feel exciting enough right away.
Yeah. We really want you to internalize this, especially, the next time you feel that itch, that restlessness, that urge to scrap what you're doing because it feels too slow, too dull, that feeling of boredom. It might actually be a signal that you're likely on the right track. And quitting then, that's just handing your competitive advantage over to someone else who will stick it out.
So the final thought for you to chew on: what ignored routine, maybe something you've tried before and dropped? What boring thing could you master starting today? Commit to it for 90 days, no judgment. How could you make your boredom pay? That's your deep dive homework.
Thanks for digging into this slightly uncomfortable idea with us.
We'll see you next time.